New York's governor added Hawaii to his mandatory quarantine list, and that means if you travel to the Empire State, you're going to have to self-isolate for 14 days. The same is true for inter-island travel as of 12 o'clock this morning. Our Casey Lund is live at Daniel K. Inouye International Airport to break down the new restrictions that are currently in place. Morning, Casey.
Who wants to go to New York, Steve? I want to go to Kauai, Maui, the Big Island. But yes, anyone leaving here, Oahu, going to those neighbor islands also has to quarantine, just like New York, for 14 days. It does not apply to visitors from those neighbor islands coming here to Oahu. But you should note that even those residents of neighbor islands going back to their home have to quarantine once they get there. It also applies neighbor island to neighbor island. So, for example, from Maui to Kauai. Now, in all counties, you can request a modified exemption for that quarantine for medical appointments or if you're performing critical infrastructure work. And they'll have to be submitted between 2 to 5 days prior to that travel, depending on where you travel. Now, on Maui, for example, you'll have to prove your reasons for travel, but requests are only granted on a case-by-case basis. Essential workers can only leave their place of lodging for work purposes. On Kauai, tour operators like Kipu Ranch Adventures were almost wiped out by the pandemic earlier this spring. They offer quad and e-bike tours on the ranch. They worked to drastically downsize their operation for Kama'aina customers, and while he agrees with Mayor Derek Kawakami's decision to support the modified quarantine, the owner of Kipu Ranch Adventures, Anton Trevis, says it's still gonna hurt.
It was almost harder to stomach the loss of that reservation loss, even though it was a smaller number than the first loss being so big. You know, you're down to that last little hanging on, and then to watch that inter-island local travel that you were saying, you know, this is what we're going to accept and work with, to see that just fall off, it was a little bit of a lump in your throat, kind of feeling like, oh, this is really real.
Now, Trevis says he waited until the very last minute to apply for the Paycheck Protection Program, only securing some assistance just a couple of weeks ago. Now, he's praying that his business can hold on, but with the new immediate future of tourism so uncertain, he's definitely a little bit worried. Important to remember that those exemptions for different islands vary county by county. We've got them all listed online at hawaiinewsnow.com. Just look for this story. This modified inter-island travel quarantine, by the way, expires on August 31st. Steve?
All right. Thank you, Casey.